All right, really quick, we have some awesome lava lamps on your screen right now. We have 29 of the 32 teams available in the description below for the NFL in alphabetical order. And here's my Michigan one looking pretty, even though we didn't look pretty against Georgia. It's available as well as Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, a lot of the Power 5 teams. If you don't see your favorite teams down there, then that just means that they're not available at the moment from this company. Check out the link, click the link on your specific team, and order one if you like them. They look good, man. I love it. I love it. I got our Detroit Red Wings one up and coming as well. All right, let's get into it. Alabama versus Georgia, round 2. The first time around, Alabama wins 41-24, and they did a lot of things right, and Georgia did a lot of things wrong. The Kirby curse continues. You know, the first time around when they played, you can ask people on this channel all season long. I said I don't care what Georgia is looking like. Until Kirby can prove that he can beat Alabama, I'm taking Alabama. Plain and simple. And I said the same thing about Michigan and Ohio State. And then the week of, I did the analysis by paralysis thing. I forgot everything I said all year long. Week after week after week, it was inevitable that these two teams were going to meet in the SEC championship game. And I went against what I said. The stats got to me. Georgia's dominance really got to me. And I chose Georgia to win this game 27-24. I will give a prediction later on in this video. Will I make the same mistake? Let's find out. How is this game going to play out the second time around? I'm looking for 3 things here. I'm not going to go analysis by paralysis. I'm just going to look at the basics here, okay? The first thing is Bryce Young. Will they protect him? They did the first time around. Georgia had 0 sacks the first time around and 4 tackles for loss. That is it. If you give Bryce Young all that time to throw, or if you give him a clear path to roll out, man, his receivers are way too talented to not get open and beat them deep. And beat them deep they did. Jameson Williams had 7 catches for 184 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Metchie, not going to be in this game, obviously. 6 catches, 97 yards, 1 touchdown. The Alabama receivers are way too talented for you to not be putting pressure on Bryce Young, especially considering he's a freshman. Freshman with ice in his veins, no doubt. But you got to put some pressure on them. And Georgia has been good at that all season long. And they were against Michigan. They got to Cade McNamara in a big way. They had 4 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. And as a result, Michigan was never able to get into what they needed to do on the offensive side of the football. And it showed on the scoreboard. You got to get to Bryce Young. You can't let the time to develop for those plays. And Bryce Young and Alabama have shown vulnerabilities on the offensive end when you do get to them. All their close games outside of Florida, the 2-point win, all their close games have something in common, and that is sacks, as well as hurries, of course. Auburn had 7 sacks against Bryce Young and Bama. Arkansas had 4. They won by a touchdown. Auburn, of course, went to overtimes. LSU was a close game. They had 4 sacks, and they lost to Texas A&M. They had 4 sacks in that game. Did Texas A&M. So get to Bryce Young. You have a shot. In my opinion, the magic number for Georgia, given how talented their front 7 is and how vulnerable in moments that Alabama's line can be, although they held up well first time around against Georgia, I think the magic number is 5. Will they get there? I'll let you know in a little bit. The number 2 thing on the flip side to me is, will Georgia keep Stetson Bennett upright? Because, you know, Georgia fans can hate on Stetson Bennett all they want. When Stetson Bennett has time to throw, or when he's comfortable in what the game plan is and it's working for him, he's good to go, man, and he's going to take care of the football. But when he's rushed, the way he was the first time against Alabama, he had a good game. 29 for 48, 340 yards, 3 touchdowns. You got to love that. That looks good. Against Alabama, you know, Alabama's talented across the board. They don't have weaknesses per se, but if they do have a weakness, it's more than likely in that secondary. It has shown vulnerabilities at moments this season, the same way their offensive line has, which is funny because that's the same issue for Michigan that I was worried about coming into the season, offensive line and secondary. This time around, the secondary did give up the numbers, but they did some important things, which is they turned the ball over twice. And not just 2 turnovers, 2 costly turnovers. Stetson Bennett threw a pick 6, so that's 7 points for Alabama, and then he threw another interception in the red zone, so that's 7 or 3 points that Georgia could have had. When you're talking a 17-point ball game, yes, Alabama was comfortable all throughout, but take some of those mistakes away and who knows? Who knows what could have happened? Georgia clearly lost the second quarter. That's when it really got away from them, and we're going to see if it's going to happen again. When he had time against Michigan, or because of the game plan against Michigan with the quick releases, is pretty similar numbers, 20 for 30, more yards per completion, 313 yards, but the yardage total was close to the same. 3 touchdowns, just like he had against Alabama. The key thing was 0 interceptions. That was it. He took care of the football, and Georgia dominated. Michigan has the number 3 best pass rusher in the entire nation with Aiden Hutchinson with 14 sacks, and they have the number 10 in Ojabo, who had 11 sacks on the season. In this game against Georgia, they had 0 sacks, 2 tackles for losses, and 2 quarterback hurries. They kept Stetson Bennett upright in that game, as opposed to the game against Alabama, where Alabama had 3 sacks, 6 tackle for losses, and 5 quarterback hurries. Which leads me into my third and final point is Alabama going to defend these quick passes that Georgia came up with against Michigan a little bit better than Michigan did. Now, Georgia proved that they don't have to do those plays against Alabama, but because of the 2 edge rushers of Michigan, they really went with that game plan, and I believe they're going to do a lot of that this time around after Bama was in Stetson Bennett's face a lot the first time around. I don't think they're going to have the same game plan, obviously. Kirby would be silly to do that against Nick Saban and company, but I think they're going to kind of test it around, tweak it around, and see if they can do some of those quick, reliable, efficient throws for Bennett, get him comfortable early on. They did the bubble screens, jailbreak screens, slow screens, crack screens, you name a screen, they did it. They did the slant routes, the quick outs, everything. And about the time Michigan started to figure it out and say, we can't let ourselves get beat off of this, which, I really think we should have known that was coming anyways, because, we knew that we had good edge rushers. We knew that we had to get to Stetson Bennett, so they had to come up with a game plan to get rid of that. But anyways, that game's over, believe it or not. Yeah, so I got to believe that Alabama's going to defend that a little bit better this time around. So that's my first question for you guys is, I got 3 questions as a whole. First question is, will Alabama defend that better? My answer is yes, than Michigan did. My answer is yes. I believe that Nick Saban isn't a newbie the way Mike Macdonald is. Mike Macdonald proved that he's a good defensive coordinator, but this is his first time doing it. And Jim Harbaugh, it's his first time getting into the playoffs, so they don't have the bones there. They don't have the experience that Alabama has. I think they'll do a better job. They'll make Stetson Bennett work for it, and he's going to have to complete some downfield throws. He did against Michigan, and he put some balls on a rope and nice looking throws downfield as Michigan crept up. But you first got to make Alabama creep up, and you got to take advantage of that secondary the best you can. We'll see if he can do it against Alabama this time around. I believe Bama's going to stop that the majority of the time. The other question is, on offense, will Bama have the answer that Michigan did not have to protect their quarterback? Can they protect Bryce Young the way that they did the first time around? I believe the answer to that is no, not this time. Georgia's front 7 did not get a sack against Alabama the first time around and gave Bryce Young way too much time to throw, made him too comfortable rolling out of the pocket, and gave Jameson Williams and Metchie way too much time to get open. This time, they don't have Metchie. Now they can zero in on a little bit more on Jameson Williams, get some coverage sacks maybe, and Bryce Young's going to have a lot harder time, and you can't stop that front 7 2 times in a row. The question is, how much are they going to get? I said the magic number is 5. I think they're going to be able to get 4 or 5. Then my third question that kind of relates to that is, will Jameson Williams get loose again this time? I think the absence of Metchie is going to play huge. I don't think Williams is going to get loose this time, and I think Georgia, because their front 7 is going to get to Bryce Young more often, I believe that's also going to be helpful for their secondary in figuring out a way how to stop Jameson Williams. Lastly, I think they're going to stop the run a little bit better. They weren't terrible against the run against Alabama last time around. They were worse than their season average defending the run, and Alabama was better than their season average running the ball. I think Georgia's going to have a little bit more of an emphasis, and with Metchie out, the people coming in Metchie's place are no scrubs, but they're not Metchie, plain and simple. So with Metchie out, they can put a little bit more focus on Jameson Williams and the run game, and against my better judgment, Oklahoma State beat Oklahoma this year. They've been getting torched by them for years and years. Michigan beat Ohio State this year. We've obviously been owned by Ohio State. And I think finally, Georgia and Kirby Smart get it done. I'm taking Georgia once again. Same score that I had last time around, 27-24. They're going to reverse the curse. They're going to win this game. I'm calling Michigan versus Michigan State basketball on Saturday, also against my better judgment because our basketball team stinks this year. And then I'll be here live for this national championship game, Bama versus Georgia, as well as a reaction afterwards. I'll see you guys there. Can't wait. It's going to be a blast. Don't forget about the lava lamps. These things are dope. Take care. God bless.